and welcome to the Grand Interview. Our guest today is the President of Burkina Faso, Captain Ibrahim Traoré. Your Excellency, hello, and thank you very much for accepting our invitation. It is a great honor to have you on our set. So yesterday, you attended the May 9th parade. What are your impressions?
Hello, and thank you. We are here in Russia for the commemoration of the 80th anniversary of the victory over Nazism. And as you mentioned, yesterday we attended the ceremony, a parade and also a wreath-laying ceremony at the tomb of that man. I think it is very symbolic. We have learned a lot during this stay. It was not just a celebration, but a commemoration of the victory of a new world. So it has a lot of meaning for us.
But what do you think about the quality of the parade?
Yes, as I said, it was perfect. Perfect, and it taught us a lot. When you parade the vehicles that won the war, that is the T-34s, up to the modern machines, it shows us the technological evolution of the Russian army, and it also inspires us to get to work so that we can develop in the same direction.
Were there certain things that surprised you, for example?
Surprised? Always. We are always surprised when we see technological progress. Recently, I think there is a new weapon that has appeared in the Russian military arsenal, Baryshnik, which we were able to see go by. And I think that is very significant.
What is the significance of your presence as an African head of state? Because we know well that Africans contributed to the victory of the Allies in the Second World War.
Of course, as I said, Africans and Soviet soldiers contributed greatly to freeing the world from Nazism. And if the world had not been freed from Nazism, we don't know what would have happened. Following the events, I saw that Russia alone lost 1 million soldiers on European soil while fighting. Africa also contributed. Our ancestors fought hard on the European front, mainly in France, Belgium, and Italy, to free the world from Nazism. So it's a shared history that we have.
How did the meeting with the Russian president go?
For now, we've only had brief meetings. Soon we will have a longer discussion. It's going very well. Honestly, it's very courteous. It's friendly. It's brotherly. That's all we ask for when it comes to new cooperation in this world.
But how would you describe the current state of bilateral relations?
The relationship is doing very well. I can say that for the past 2 years now, the relationship has gotten off to a very good start. We are in the process of deepening the areas of defense and security, but also education, and later on the commercial sectors and other aspects. We have staggered the different areas so that we can exchange a lot, share many experiences, because we have much to learn from Russia in the field of education, especially in the sciences.
Especially in the sciences, but in which fields in particular?
Yes, there are many fields in the sciences, whether it's mathematics, physics, or chemistry. These are areas that interest us greatly, both for the development of our military industry and for the commercial and economic development of our country. So these are areas that we will seek to deepen in order to better structure ourselves.
And do you think there is a demand in Burkina for Russian education?
Of course, there are already many Burkinabe students here in Russia in universities. I even met some this very morning, and I have requested that the number of students here be increased, whether through Russian scholarships or with Burkina itself funding scholarships so that these students can come. But our goal is to establish similar universities in Burkina. And since there is already the House of Russia, that will allow us to move very quickly.
By the way, as you just mentioned, today you visited the Russian university. How did that visit go?
It went very well. I had fruitful discussions with the Russian Minister of Education, with the university presidents and with the students, especially the students from the AES who are studying at this university. We had very good discussions. We spoke a lot in a scientific manner. That's it.
Let's talk a little bit about the economy. The volume of trade has increased 10-fold in 1 year. But on the other hand, these figures do not match the level of political dialogue. How do you explain this paradox? And above all, how can these ties be boosted in the area of trade?
As I said, this is a new relationship that is just beginning. You know that with Russia since the years, why do I say new? Excuse me. Yes, it's starting again because since the years after, but the unfortunate death of Sankara, relations with Russia had faded a lot. And now we are in the process of reviving these relations. The embassy has been established, and trade relations are also at the heart of our exchanges. There are a number of products, for example, from Burkina Faso, that used to pass through certain European countries before being sold in Russia. Today, these products are sold directly through Burkinabe and Russian operators. I'm speaking in particular about the example of mangoes. Mangoes used to transit through European countries before being sold in Russia. Today, it happens directly. Cotton will follow the same path. There are many other products, sesame and many other agricultural products that we will be able to trade directly with Russia. So this is just the beginning. It will continue to grow.
Absolutely. In fact, economic forecasts indicate a growth of 5.6% in 2025. So what are the key sectors supporting this growth?
Well, it should be said that up until today in Burkina Faso, gold is the leading export product. But we have launched the engine of agriculture. First for self-sufficiency, but also for foreign trade and export. If you have been following closely since last year, we launched the agricultural offensive with an initiative that supports this offensive. The goal is to be able to significantly increase our agricultural production, achieve self-sufficiency, but also to have cash crops that we can sell abroad. And all of this should be able to support this growth, and we hope to be well above those figures.
How are these reforms being carried out?
There are a lot of things. These are difficult reforms. It must be acknowledged because the system has become entrenched, but it is not impossible. Already when you look at our cereal production, we saw very strong growth in 2024. In 2025, we hope to do even better. These are quite courageous reforms. For example, if we stick with agriculture, we decided through the offensive initiative to plow our farmers' fields for free. Last year we did it. This year again, God willing. When we return, there are a good number of tractors that we have acquired, which we will make available to the mechanized units in the various departments to increase the cultivated areas. We are putting a lot of emphasis on water management through a structure we created, the ONBA, to control water and be able to produce at least 2 or 3 times a year. Because if we rely solely on rainfall, it would be difficult. There is this sector and also the mining sector, which we will continue to boost so that the country itself can exploit its own resources. We have started to acquire mines. There are many permits that are in place, which we are currently developing. Our engineers have been able to develop the necessary machines so that we can exploit our resources ourselves. So if we take advantage of these 2 sectors and complement them with industrialization, that is processing our products locally, which will prevent us from exporting raw materials, it will really help us achieve very strong growth. So these are the reforms that are underway: agriculture, industry, and many other sectors.
Do you think Russia can provide support for the implementation of these reforms?
Of course. A lot of support. Just technical and vocational training alone is already a very good thing. If we set up industries, we definitely need people to maintain and operate them. And Russia is helping us in this area. That's why I say we have very good cooperation with the Ministry of Education. They will allow us to train technicians and engineers who must be able to maintain everything we do, but also to create our own industrial units ourselves. So this is very important for us. And in trade as well, as I just mentioned, things are going very well with Russia. There is no reason why we can't deepen all of this.
Let's talk a little bit about security. What is the current security situation in your country and, for that matter, in the region?
Yes, in the region. As you know, the security situation, at least we are trying to make progress on the battlefield. That's the first thing, because there are several factors that come into play. On the battlefield, there has been progress. If we look from 2023 to today, we have managed to reclaim many areas that we have been able to pacify. However, the enemy is also getting stronger. There are many foreign fighters joining the ranks of the terrorists.
Could you clarify? What exactly are you referring to?
Yes, the terrorists are being reinforced by many foreign fighters who come from elsewhere, who are not actually... When I look at the case of Burkina, there are many criminals who are in Burkina, but who are not Burkinabe. There are also trainers who come from many countries to teach them a lot of techniques.
But what is their interest?
It's not really terrorism, it's imperialism. Their goal is to keep us in a state of permanent war so that we can't develop and so they can continue to plunder our resources. So they have every interest in bringing in specialists in mines to lay different types of mines and specialists in explosives. Today the terrorists are using drones to fight and everything. So these are professionals from certain countries who come to teach them all of this. All of this is to keep us in a state of insecurity. But we are aware of what's going on. We adapt every time to their methods of operation, and we will continue the fight until we have recovered the whole Sahel.
Are there specific countries that are funding these fighters?
All the imperialist countries are funding these fighters. There are many of them. We can't name them one by one. Some are even hidden, ones you wouldn't imagine. But there are many.
There are also those who are not hiding and openly declare it. I'm talking about the recent scandal involving support for terrorism in Mali. What is your perspective on what actually happened in Mali?
Yes, it's unfortunate. They openly declared that they support the terrorists. We also noticed, in fact, from a number of technologies that the terrorists were able to obtain, that they came from them. It's unfortunate, it's very unfortunate, but still we are not feeling sorry for ourselves. We have taken stock of the situation. We will adapt, we will fight them, and they will not be able to win. That is what matters most to us.
How is humanitarian cooperation between Burkina Faso and Russia progressing?
It is going very well. I think there is a lot of exchange in many areas. For example, in the field of health, because we still have displaced people here. And when we talk about a camp for displaced people, it means there are often complicated health situations. I think the health services are cooperating well to support humanitarian action services so that we can move forward. As you saw in 2023, I believe Russia donated wheat to Burkina Faso. It was intended solely for displaced people. But we made a promise to President Putin that we no longer want to be supplied with wheat because we are going to produce our own wheat. And I am keeping that promise because we have started producing our own wheat in sufficient quantities to meet our needs. So this means that cooperation in this area is leading us to develop ourselves, or to boost many things in order to fill the gaps.
In light of current geopolitical tensions, particularly the trade war between the United States and China, how is Burkina Faso adapting its economic and diplomatic strategy?
Well, this world is in constant flux. Sometimes the things we see are just madness. You have to stay alert and be able to adapt at any moment. And that's very important because we keep up with current events. There is an economic battle going on almost everywhere, but for us, we trade with China without any issues. We buy a lot of goods from China, and the Chinese also buy many things from us. There are Chinese companies setting up in our country, despite the fact that some people try to disparage Burkina Faso. It's the same with Russia right now. So all the countries that are currently fighting for their economic independence, we try to collaborate more closely with them, because this is a form of oppression by imperialism. Those who are oppressed need to unite to confront this hegemony. So, in principle, we adapt to this whole situation.
Mr. President, what is your view on the recent deterioration of relations with Algeria?
Well, you have followed the events, and I think everyone understands how this works. We regret the incident that occurred at the Algerian border with the drone they shot down. It must be said clearly, this is not friendly. It's not friendly because you don't just shoot down an aircraft like that. Everyone knows the protocol, it's something down, so there's no need to kid ourselves. If an aircraft crosses your border, even if it enters your country, you identify it. Radars allow you to identify it, and you know which country it belongs to. And that's what diplomatic relations are for. You contact the embassy, there are defense attachés, there are many mechanisms in place. You reach out to them, and they can confirm whether it's their aircraft or not, and whether it's on the territory. That's it. Maybe it needs help, or maybe it lost its bearings, things like that. Because an aircraft can be in the air and have problems with the weather. It might be forced to hide behind the clouds. That happens very often in our countries. An aircraft enters, we ask about it, and they say no. There are a lot of cloud covers, but in any case, there is some meteorological phenomenon that causes it to pass through. It could have a technical problem. It might request help so that we can guide it to land. There are so many factors that can cause an aircraft to end up in a given airspace. We don't shoot down an aircraft automatically. That situation has happened to us. We've often seen an American aircraft enter our territory, conducting reconnaissance and so on. We did not shoot down the aircraft. We took care to contact the American embassy, and after a few minutes, they confirmed that it was their aircraft and cleared the airspace. So we don't shoot down an aircraft automatically. So shooting down the aircraft is a deliberate and unfriendly act, and it's regrettable.
But if I understand correctly, you're not closing the door to dialogue, are you?
No. Leaders need to understand that. We have no choice but to unite in the face of this so-called terrorism situation. Because it's a rather complex phenomenon. I'm telling you, in 2012, Burkina was just sitting and watching Mali. What were we doing? The regime in power at the time was friendly with those people. Some of them even lived in Ouagadougou. Yaya lived in Ouagadougou. That's the reality. But what's happening today? They have turned against us. These are not free people. They are manipulated by the imperialists, and the orders they receive, they pass on to their criminals on the ground, and they carry them out. So everyone needs to understand that we must unite to face this. There is no possible negotiation with these people.
Precisely. Let's talk about this unity, or rather this integration that is currently taking place within the AES. Where do things stand at the moment?
It's going well, it's progressing. So we are in the Confederation. And as I said, there are many things to put in place. That's it. And we shouldn't try to go too fast and end up not doing things properly. So we are moving forward in a gradual manner. There are many structures that need to be put in place. There are many areas that need to be brought up to standard in the three countries. Because as you know, economically, we are not at the same level. And in terms of the military, there are many aspects as well. We need to try to balance things out. And so that requires setting up a lot of structures, a lot of meetings. Free movement requires a certain number of parameters to be put together. You must have seen that we did a lot of work to come up with a single security document for travel and everything. So it's a process that evolves. It's going very well.
Actually, I had a question about the economic aspect. Is the creation of a currency specific to the AES still on the agenda?
Yes, it's definitely on the agenda. And so the process is ongoing. There are a lot of things, how should I put it? A lot of steps to work out before we get there. But yes, it's definitely on the agenda. If we're talking about sovereignty, of course, we need that kind of sovereignty. So yes, it's essential.
Can we expect the AES to expand at this point in time?
Yes, in the future. But for now, as I said, we need to harmonize a lot of things among ourselves, really lay the groundwork, because there will be many additional protocols, if you will, to harmonize our policies, whether diplomatic or economic policies. There are a lot of policies to harmonize before allowing anyone else to join.
But are there already countries interested in your format?
Yes, some countries are interested. They might be able to, I don't know. For now, the president of the federation is the Malian president. He could give an opinion on the matter, but there are countries that are interested.
How do you explain the decline of French influence in the region? Not just in the Sahel, but also in West Africa, for example.
I think they themselves contributed to the decline of their influence because they have a paternalistic view to our relations. You see, when you look at all these advisors, all the initiatives being taken now, it's Russia. Someone is talking. They are influenced by Russia. Everything that happens, it's Russia. Why do they have their eyes closed like that? So Africans aren't capable of developing anything. Africans aren't capable of inventing, innovating, or taking initiatives. That's what we're fighting against. And as long as they keep seeing Africans this way, as subhuman, incapable of thinking, incapable of innovating or inventing, we can never be friends. Times have changed. So it's their very perception of black people. They need to stop that. Because by treating us like that, it's as if they see black people as subhuman. And that's dangerous. They need to change their language.
But how does this attitude show itself?
Just look at their speeches. Even the French president, always in his speeches, says that young Africans are influenced by Russia. He says it. Western media, if you listen to them often, they do nothing but lie all the time. Look at today. The AES, which is a model, that's starting to take shape. When they can't go a single day without talking about Burkina or the AES. It's impossible for them. And every time they try to spread information, to divide, to manipulate the youth. But it doesn't work anymore. I think people are quite aware now, and all of you, you are victims of these people, of their communication. What they do, what they say about Russia and everything else, we know about it. Even today, there are young Africans who still have their eyes closed, who believe their lies. The narrative about the Second World War. I was listening the other day. Someone was saying that at the end of the war, in the 10 years that followed, if you asked people in Europe who won the war, they would say it was Russia. But today, if you ask in Europe who won the war, they will say it was the Westerners. Through communication, they managed to rewrite history. And with African history as well, they schemed everything to spread lies. As a result, some young Africans don't even know the history of Africa, what Africa has accomplished. Some don't even know that our grandparents fought, were put on the front lines as cannon fodder, and when they returned, they were killed like animals. Do people know that when France tested its first atomic bomb, it was black soldiers they placed nearby in the blast radius to see what effect it would have? Especially the archives. Everything they used against Africa is terrible. All of this needs to be communicated so that young Africans understand, because there are still many who are asleep and continue to speak on behalf of the imperialists. They say what they're told to say, maybe because they're given something, I don't know. But Africans need to understand their history and wake up. That's our fight as well, in a way.
In your opinion, what is the role of the media in this struggle, independent media?
From our countries, you mean? The media should play a big part in helping us. But as you can see, even our own media, there are some that are imperialist media. They only react when European media say something, then they repeat it and amplify it. There are plenty of media outlets in our countries that even fight against regimes like ours. They spend their time repeating the same nonsense that Western media spread, and it's shameful. If Africans behave like that, it's truly shameful. I imagine they must be ashamed to look at themselves in the mirror at night. If you're paid to spread lies about black people, oh, that's very serious. So we are in the process of raising awareness. In Burkina Faso, if you look right now, many media outlets are supporting the movement, helping to raise awareness among young people through debates and so on. So that's really what we hope for from the media.
Do you think our media can also play its part in this struggle?
Of course, very much so. You have to play a very important role because, I said it in 2023 in St. Petersburg, and I'll say it again today. Russia helped save the world. Africa helped save the world. It needs to be said. Young people need to understand that everything that's shown in Hollywood movies or whatever, it's false. It's nothing but lies. It's the same thing. The Vietnam War. Today we see that history is distorted, but we need to communicate. You see, they don't like it when I speak. They think I talk too much and all that. They want me to keep quiet so that they can speak and their version gets through. No. My biggest regret, Tarka, is having spent a good part of my youth listening to radio stations like RFI and France 24. I was in countries where these radio stations were banned, but we would use apps, record their news broadcasts just to listen. But at some point, something clicked, and I started to realize that they were conditioning our minds to accept whatever they wanted. It's their narrative that they want us to learn. And since then, I started to see things differently and realized that what they're doing is very dangerous. And today, more than ever, I realize that they have conditioned the minds, especially of Africans. So you can do a lot to awaken the consciousness of young people so that people understand how the world works and don't let themselves be led astray by those people.
My very last question, just so we can end on a positive note. What are the prospects for relations between Russia and Burkina Faso, in your opinion?
Many prospects lie ahead. As I said, with the parade I saw, I think there is very good cooperation because that's a good thing. Currently, we are buying equipment, but we need to develop our military industry, for example. And Russia can contribute a lot. You know that Russia has many scientists, many scholars who are Russian. The proof is that some have just graduated from Mendeleev University. They can support us greatly in training as well, so that we can also excel. Because in our country, we have young talents, geniuses who are able to create things, but they lack the mathematical and scientific input to improve what they do. So Russia can help us a lot in this area. This will help us in the military sector, in the industrial sector, because it is machines that drive the world. And today, with the technology that exists, whether it's IT, networks, telecommunications, and so on, Russia is collaborating a lot in these areas. So in the future, all these prospects are being prioritized so that we can achieve a definite goal that we desire.
Your Excellency, thank you very much for this very interesting and very enlightening discussion. Let me remind you, that was the President of Burkina Faso, Captain Ibrahim Traoré. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Another side of the news in Burkina Faso.